Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you here today for this webinar on business plan development and business growth. I'm your moderator, Jenny Alton from the New York Small Business Development Center Central Office. We are delighted to have Terrence Clark, President and CEO of the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council. We have a very large crowd with us today, so we have also invited 5 of our NYSBDC business advisors to answer your questions in the Q&A box today. We have Susan Gluck and Greg Callender from the Pace Manhattan Center. We have Hans van Gellen from the Niagara Geneseo Center, Patrick Saul from the Bronx Center, and Gina Marie Mangiamelli from the Brockport Center. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. All right, so this webinar is brought to you today by the New York Small Business Development Center network of 20 campus-based centers and many more outreach offices, which are located across New York State, along with a central office based in Albany. The NYSBDC is a U.S. Small Business Administration resource partner. Our free advising, education, research, and advocacy services are made possible by funding from the SBA, New York State, and our host campuses. So you know, this session is being recorded, and we will share it with attendees in the next few days, along with a PDF copy of the slides through a follow-up email. Attendees are muted and will not be on camera. And we have closed the chat for today because we need to keep track of all these questions and our business advisors be able to answer them all. And in the chat, things get messy. So we are using our Q&A box solely today to make sure that we can get questions answered and keep things organized. So please go and open up that Q&A box right now. When you look at your Zoom window, you will see a Q&A button down at the bottom of that window. Press it to open the box, and you'll see where you are able to type in your questions. And we will also, I will share some information through the chat about the NYSBDC and how to get in touch with your local center, as well as we'll put a link to Terrence's organization there so you can find out more about his organization. So here we go. Terrence, take it away.
Thank you, Jenny, and good morning, everyone. Hope that everybody's doing well. Before I go into the actual presentation, let me give you everybody just a kind of a background on what we do and who I am. Our organization, which is the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council, does several things. One is the certification of minority-owned businesses, and what we are certifying is that the businesses are owned, operated, managed, and controlled by an ethnic minority persons, and that person or persons owns and operates at least 51% of that business. I work for a national organization, and there are 23 affiliates, of which I operate one, which covers the entire state of New York and covers northern and central New Jersey. I have 1,523 certified business owners, minority business owners, and their goal outside of being certified is to connect with our corporate members. Our corporate members are large corporations, primarily in the private sector, that are looking to diversify and enhance their supply chain and looking to add businesses that they feel can benefit the work that they do. So we're talking about businesses that are in the Fortune 1000, Fortune 500, Fortune 100. These businesses have been, most of them have been members of our organization over the last 20 to 30 years. Our organization has been in existence for 50 years, 51 years actually this year. And as I mentioned, it's not just certification, it's business development, it's being in the room to meet people, because I'm a firm believer in two things. Number one, it's good to be an eye and an ear witness when you're trying to do business with folks. And number two, people do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. So today, part of what we're going to be talking about is why a business plan is important, what goes in a business plan, and what people who look at business plans are looking for. I myself have been doing this type of work over 30 years. The last 9, I've served as the president of the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council, or what we call the council, because that's a fairly long name. But at the same point in time, before that, I ran an SBDC in the Bronx. I worked for an SBDC at Pace University. I worked for the Small Business Administration. I also ran a business improvement district in the Diamond District in New York on 47th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue, which had 2,500 businesses, all mostly connected with the jewelry industry. And I also ran a entrepreneurship program for the National Urban League. So I've been doing this type of work for a while. I've developed a number of business plans. I've read many business plans, and hopefully the information that I provide for you today will be helpful in you developing a business plan, and most importantly, being able to use that business plan to develop and grow your business. Next slide, please. So to start with, what is the main purpose of developing a business plan? From my point of view, it's 3 things. Number 1, it establishes the focus of your business. What are you trying to actually do? How are you trying to do it? And who are you trying to do it with? And what other people are going to need to be involved in it, which is where the attracting the new employees comes in. Many people use their business plan to secure financing, whether that's financing that's debt financing, debt and equity financing, or equity financing. Because your business plan really talks about and gives somebody the idea of what it is that you are trying to do that they may have an interest in. Very, very important. And I look at it from one standpoint. People who fail to plan to fail. So you need a business plan, whether you're using it for funding or you're using it really to kind of chart how your business is going to grow. A business plan is extraordinarily important. And what I'm hoping is that everybody, if you don't have one, by the time you finish today's session, you'll know what you need to do to put in one. And hopefully then, certainly through the auspices of the services that the SBDC provides, help you in putting your plan together, and also help you as far as reviewing your plan and determining, is it the type of plan that somebody else will have an interest in, that you can use as a guide in running your business, and that you can update on an annual or even a semi-annual basis as your business changes and grows. Next slide, please. So, the first part, and probably the most important part of your business plan, is the executive summary. And as you see, in the slide that I put here, it talks about, while it may appear that this is the first part and this should be the first part of your business plan, it's best to write your executive summary after you've completed the rest of the plan, because the rest of the plan really supports what you're going to put in your executive summary. So it's a brief session that highlights the high points of what you've talked about in the remainder of your plan. A summary of the problem that you are solving for existing customers, your solution, the target market, and the team that you're building. If you are building a team or you're going to need employees, this is where you talk about what type of employees you're going to need. And a financial forecast, because everybody wants to know, basically, what are your finances going to look like? Is this a business that is going to be able to be profitable over the course of time? Is this a business that, if you're looking for equity financing, somebody can look at it and say, this is something that I can make an investment in? If it's debt financing that you may be looking for, is this something that if I go to a bank or another type of lender, that they can see that that my financials show that there's going to be enough money to repay any kind of debt? And, it's certainly important that this part of your plan is very tight and sharp, because this is your first impression. This is the first thing people are going to read about you. This is how they're going to get an idea of what your business is about and why, if I'm going to make an investment, or if I'm going to look at debt, or if I'm trying to attract employees, what I'm doing that's going to say to people, hey, this is important. This person has taken their time to put together a well thought out plan, and a plan that over the course of time, I can see that this is a business that has growth potential. Because what people are looking at, they're not looking at just, hey, okay, you put this stuff down. Have you put some thought into it? Do you know about your market? Do you know who your competitors are? We're going to talk about all of that. Do you know whether you have the wherewithal to get to the target market that you're looking at? Now, as I mentioned before, we deal with a lot of large businesses, a lot of large corporations that are looking for smaller vendors to do business with. And people want to know several things. They want to know, do you have a business that can solve a problem? A business that can help us make money, that can defer expenses? What is it about your business that's different from your competitors? And does your business have any type of innovation that's going to keep us ahead of our competitors? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is whether you are looking at dealing with a small or a large organization as far as part of your target market. So make sure that you take the time after you put this information together to make sure that the executive summary supports the remainder of your business plan and ties in directly to what it is that you are trying to put together that makes sense. What a lot of people do, which is not a good idea, is they'll write a business plan to try to get financing. And if they get the financing or not, they stop looking at the business plan. The business plan is not just for you to get financing. The business plan is for you to give you kind of a model as to how to run and operate your business. Because many of you may have a business where you're the one person who does the marketing, the management, and also does the finances. And so if you have something that you have in front of you that you can use as a guide, it's going to help you as you look to grow and develop your business. But if you're doing things basically, off the cuff or off the hat, it's going to be very difficult to grow your business, because your goal is very simply this: to get your business to a point where you're working on your business and not in your business. Because when you're working in your business, that means you're the person who gets the client, does the work, bills the client, and I got to get another client. When you're working on your business, you have other people doing the work, so you can work on what you need to do to grow and develop your business. So keep that in mind. You want to get your business to that point where you work on your business and not in your business. And a business plan is a greater part of that. Next slide, please. So this section talks about what is it that you're offering, whether it's a product or service. And the one thing I would say before we even get into this, many people have products or services that have industry jargon. This is not the time to impress people on information that they don't know or they can't understand. This stuff needs to be written as though you're writing it to somebody who has no clue what you do and really needs to be informed. So this part you want to talk about, I've developed this business because it's solving this problem for my customers that I'm looking to do business with, or I already do business with. So make sure it's written in plain, very understandable English. And I'll give you an example. We deal with a lot of people in these corporations that are in what is called supplier diversity. And those are kind of the gatekeepers to get you into a corporation. And when people send information to them, you cannot assume that if you're in a specific industry that they have the same understanding and knowledge that you have of that particular industry, product, or service. So you've got to write it and present it in a manner that is easy for anybody to understand. And if you're doing business and you're looking to do business with, heck, even not large corporations, anybody, you got to put enough information in there where you're talking about, here's what my product does, or here's what my service provides. Here's how it helps. Here's how it can help you. Here's how we can present it so it can help you. And you notice I put in there, if you have any intellectual property or patents, that's important. But the most important thing, people want folks, and they want to do business with businesses that solve problems. And they don't have to be deep and heavy problems, but they got to be something that's going to make your target audience or your target market do better. Be able to look at you and say, here's somebody that I can fit within my client base because I need their services, and they explain why I need their services and how their services are going to benefit my business. And one thing I'm going to say to everybody as we go, before we go any further, research is key. And most people either don't like to do research or don't do it well. But research is key. You need to learn everything you can learn about the business that you are trying to put together or you have put together, along with, if I have target clients that I'm looking at, you need to know as much as you can learn about them. Now, years ago, people had to go to the library to get this kind of information. It's a lot easier now. Most everybody has a smartphone, and most everybody has Bing or Google. And you can Google information about your industry. You can Google information about your target market, so that as you're putting your plan together, it ties in with the information about the market you're looking at and the product or service that you're looking to provide. Very important. What people don't want to read about is you haven't really come to explain clearly the benefits of your products and services, which tells them, if you don't know that, what's the benefit of me doing business with you? And if you notice, I had mentioned back in a slide before that, when we were talking about the executive summary, all of this information, ladies and gentlemen, really talks about whether I want to read your plan or not. And you want to make sure that when somebody picks your plan up, it doesn't have to be a book, but it has to get to the point. And it has to be clear, concise, and something that somebody can say, I can see that this business can be beneficial to me. I can see this a business I can invest in. I can see this a business I want to do business with, or a business I want to lend money to. At the same point in time, you have clearly described your product and service so that if you decide you have to hire people, you can clearly talk to them about what it is that your product and service does, which makes them much better assets to you than them trying to figure out what you do. Because if people have to figure out what you do or what your product and service does, they may either think with you. You may be fortunate they do that. But if they don't, then all of a sudden, that's a missed opportunity. And what you want to make sure of, folks, is you don't miss opportunities. Opportunities come along fairly regularly, but you got to be prepared when the opportunity comes along. And one of the things I always say to folks, as you're putting your business plan together, make sure that you understand clearly what it is you're presenting. There's nothing worse than having somebody else do your business plan, and then somebody asks you what's in it, you can't explain it. So make sure that whatever you put in that business plan, folks understand it clearly, you understand it clearly, and this products and service section of your business plan really talks about what your product and service is and how it can be beneficial to the target market that you're looking at. Next slide, please. And that's where we get to the market analysis. And this is the research I was talking about. It's very important, first and foremost, that you know exactly what type of customers you're looking for and what those customers are looking for as far as their businesses are concerned. And as I mentioned before, you can get a lot of this information on the internet. With larger companies, as an example, most every company, especially publicly traded ones, have an annual report. And in that annual report, it talks about what it is they buy, because they have to report that information to their shareholders. So that gives you an idea. Do I have a product or service that this company buys? Many companies now have websites. And on that those websites gives you information, once again, on what people buy. You do some research with the business census, and you can find out basically what are the potential customers, how many are there, where are they? You want to know, if I'm doing business on a local level, are there enough clients on a local level to support my operations? If I'm doing business on a regional or national level, are there enough clients, and do I have the wherewithal to get to these clients? As I mentioned here, are they by age? Are they by income? Are they by location? We have clients through our organization, many of the same size as those that are on this call, that are looking at doing business not only on a local level, but also regional and national level, and in some places on a global level. Do you have the wherewithal, and is your product or service support that? And that's where you can get research, so you can find out what it is from a market standpoint and where I can connect. How do I connect to the market that I'm looking at? What do I know about this market? Is it a growing market? Is it a stagnant market? Is it a declining market? And this information is certainly on the internet. It's also available through the resources of the SBDC. So being that you all are on this, and I assume you're all connected in some way, shape, or form to the SBDC, make sure that you use their services. If this is information that's hard for you to find, they can help you find this information. They can help put this information together for you. But make sure also, as important as getting somebody else to do this, if that's what you're doing, make sure you understand what it is. Because it makes no sense if somebody asks you about your market, you can't explain it. And you can't explain why you're going after a particular market. And that makes no difference whether your business is in the service sector, or the manufacturing and construction sector, or a retail business. If you're on a retail business, are you in a neighborhood where people buy what it is you sell? Are there enough people to buy your product or service? Do they have the income to be able to pay for it? It's wonderful to have a great product and service. I think everybody believes that whatever it is that they're offering is a great product or a great service. But it doesn't mean anything unless people can afford it and pay for it. Because that's how you conduct business. You can say, I know a lot of people who will need whatever my product or service is. Can they afford it? Do they need it? And can I conclude a sale? All of this stuff goes in analyzing an analysis of your market and making sure that you are doing business and you have targeted people who need your product and service, and most importantly, who can pay for it and are willing to pay for it. Next slide, please. Everybody has competition. You may have direct competition, you may have indirect competition, but you need to find out, first and foremost, who your competitors are and what is it they're doing. And once again, a lot of this information is on the internet. A lot of this information is stuff that that the counselors at the SBDC can help you with, but you got to find that out. You got to find out what are their strengths, what weaknesses do they have, and most importantly, as I had mentioned before, what differentiates what you're providing versus what's already offered. So you got to do a little reconnaissance and find this stuff out, because it's very important to know that you are offering products and services that are not the exact same as what's currently in the market, because then you have a problem as far as how I'm going to sell this stuff. So you've got to make sure I understand who my competition is, whether my competition's local or regional, how do other people categorize what it is that they sell. Like I said, mentioned, most everybody now has a website. So you need to read other people's websites and see how they describe what it is that they do. It doesn't sound like what it is you do. And in some cases, people are going to give you information on who they do business with. Especially if they do business with large corporations, they want people to know that. It provides a level of comfort in many cases. So you got to do some reading. You got to do some recognizance, as I put it. But most importantly, you need to know. You need to be able to put down, these are my competitors. This is what they do well. This is what they don't do well, in my opinion. And here's how I'm going to exploit those gaps. I'm going to offer this product or service at a better price, that I can do quicker delivery, or I can specialize in certain things that I don't see are currently in the market, but I know there's a market for it because I've analyzed what people need. It's all of those things that are very, very important as you are putting together your business plan in this competition section of your business plan, so that you know for yourself that I have something right here on the market that's going to be something that people want, and most importantly, something that people are willing to pay for. That's very important. So make sure you find that information out. If you don't know how to get that information, once again, you are connected to the SBDC network. They can help you with that information. And you've got to, one thing everybody's got to be open to, I want to make sure everybody is, you got to be open to getting assistance and advice. One of the reasons that many people open a business and start a business is because they want to be in charge of something, or they feel they have a product or service that they can take to market. But there are people that can help you do that. But you have to be open to taking advice, and in some cases, criticism. But you've got to make sure that you're open to it. Because some people are and some people aren't. But it's very important, folks, that if somebody has information that can be of assistance and guidance to you, that you are open to receiving that information. And if you put your business plan together, make sure that once you finish this process, have somebody who has no connection at all to your business read this and see if it makes sense to them. And if it doesn't make sense to them, then be prepared to change it so that it does. Because these could be, you never know where business opportunities lie. So you don't know if you go to an event, who's sitting next to you, who's sitting in front of you, who's sitting behind you. That could be a potential client or somebody that you can joint venture or partner with to go after the larger opportunities. But you got to be able to clearly talk about what it is you do. The business plan gives you the written part to be able to talk about it. But one thing that's very important, ladies and gentlemen, is that ability to talk about your business in a clear and concise manner so that no one has to look at this and say, gee, I wonder what this person does, or I'm not sure what this person does. And that whole ability of being able to pitch is very important. So you got to make sure once I put this plan together and I understand it, I can pitch it to somebody else and hopefully they will understand it and be interested in working with me or providing assistance to help my business develop and grow. Next slide, please. And so now we've talked about where the market is and who the competitors are. Now we get to the part where we talk about how do I get to these people? What is it that I do? How do I market my business plan, my business, so that I can get to make sales or increase sales? How do I get to my target customers? Is it direct? Is it on social media? Is it my ability to go to events that are in my industry and be able to talk about what it is that I do? Do I have a capability statement? And a capability statement, ladies and gentlemen, is that one-page statement that people can pick up and look at and get an understanding of your business. That statement talks about, very simply, who you are, where you're located, what it is you sell, who you've done business with. Those are the things people want to know. Tell me what it is you do. Tell me who you've done it with. Tell me where you're located. Tell me how I can get in contact with you. One page. What people do not want to read from a capability statement standpoint is a book. So don't send people something that's 3, 4, 5 pages. They're not going to read it. I'm here to tell you that. I get this stuff all the time. Like I mentioned, I have 1,500 clients. So I get this stuff regularly. If it gets past a few pages, you're probably not reading the whole thing. Well, one page should tell your story. Make sure that you do a capability statement. I don't care whether you're in retail, wholesale, doesn't make a difference. But make sure that you do that because it is extremely important. Also, how else do you market yourself? And if you know, for instance, I'm going to a conference, but I'm not really good at describing my business, then I need to bring somebody with me, hopefully somebody that's on my staff that can clearly delineate what it is I do, that can help me discuss to strangers why they should do business with me. And you need to leave behind. And a lot of people, paperwork and the like may not want to do that. But I'm here to tell you, especially if you're dealing with large corporations, they get hundreds of calls. You got to talk about what it is that's going to remind them of you, whether you met them at a particular event, whether you're a member of a certain organization that they may be a member of. But you got to make sure that if you're going to send an email to anyone, that there's something that email that talks about, I met you at X place, or I'm going after your organization because I attended your event on such and such a day. So they have a point of reference. If you're in the retail business, how do you get the word out to people in your community or neighborhood that you exist? Maybe it's joining local organizations. Maybe it's doing sales meaning selling, pricing, saying I have something that's 20% off, 30% off. But people got to know who you are, and you got to be good at marketing. And if marketing and being able to discuss who you are isn't your thing, make sure you get somebody that it is their thing and they're good at doing that. And that's where I go back to the whole issue of working in versus working on your business. You want to get your business to that standpoint where other people are talking about what it is that you do and why what it is that you do would be beneficial to other people. And you got to have also a pricing strategy. And here's something I want to make sure everybody understands, especially any of you that are doing or connected to RFPs, especially in the public sector. In the public sector, a lot of what goes on relates to price, lowest responsive price. But you should never, ever price your products where you're not making money. And a lot of people do that. They say, I'm going after a product with the city of New York or the state of New York or the Port Authority. And if I go in low, I'll get the business, and the next time I can raise my prices. Folks, let me tell you, that doesn't work. But if you go in low the first time, I'm going to expect you to go in low the second time, the third time, and the fourth time. And you should never put yourself in a position where I say, I have all these clients that are not making any money. The goal in running a for-profit organization is to make profits. And when you are putting your pricing together, you got to look at what is it that goes into me being able to provide these products or services to the buying public. That could be people, that could be materials. Certainly there's a time element. But you got to make sure that all of that stuff goes into your pricing and that there's a profit at the end of that. So if it costs you $15 to make something or produce a product or provide a service, don't charge people $16. Charge them what you feel you'll be able to move your business forward. Because what people do, and unfortunately, a lot of times, we'll talk about this with the financial part, you may have people that come and tell you, well, try to make sure your business looks break even. That might be wonderful if you don't want to pay taxes. It's not a great thing if you're trying to get investors or somebody to provide you debt. So that pricing is very important. And you need to have, if I'm the one person that's doing this, I got to sit down and decide what it is it costs. Your pricing has to be something that's not overly flexible, but once again, it has to be something that's based on you being able to make a profit so that you can continue to run and develop your business. And in that, one thing you got to keep in account is this, especially if you are looking to do business in the private sector with large or medium-sized corporations, or in the public sector with government agencies. You got to take into account, not only I look at what my marketing is and how I'm going to put my pricing together, and we're going to talk about this later, but what's the cash flow situation? That's where the pricing comes in again, because I'm here to tell you folks that unless you're in retail, nobody pays you in 10 days or the same day. It's usually 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Is my pricing going to allow me to make the money that I need, that as I get paid, I can continue to move my business forward, versus I'm not in a situation to be able to pay people or to pay myself because I've underpriced my product or my service. And you can kind of, as time goes along, there will be shifts in your pricing. But it has to be based upon, because people will ask about them, the fact that maybe your costs are a little higher. Maybe you've developed something that's in addition to maybe your initial product or service. But you're going to make sure you have all of that stuff taken care of. Once again, your colleagues at the small business development centers can help you with that. And like I said before, folks, you got to be open to people providing you suggestions, information, and advice. Next slide, please. Operations. Now, some of you may have a business that you are doing in a rental location or in a location you own. Some of you may be working from your home. That needs to be clearly described. Where do you do business? It may not, some businesses, it may be important. Some businesses, it may not be important at all. If you're in retail, it is important because people are going to come to you. If you're in manufacturing operation, that becomes important because you have to have enough room and space to be able to manufacture whatever products or services that you're going to provide. If you are in the service sector, it may not be as important if you have a business that you go to see people and they don't come to see you. So you can do business out of your home, and many people do. But people want to be clear about that. They want to know, is this a business that I do in a rented location, in a location I own, or out of the place where I live? And this section should talk about that. If there's specific equipment that you need to be able to manufacture or your product, that needs to be described so that everybody is clear as to where you are and what it is that you do to put your particular business on the market that people can take advantage of. Next slide, please. And this is important. It's milestones and metrics. When you start a business, you have a goal. What day you're going to start, how long it's going to take if you need certain approvals for things. Where do you see yourself 6 months from now, 8 months from now, 10 months from now, a year from now? Very important. It's important to other people, but it's important to you because you have to know that this business is moving forward, and you have to develop a timeline as to how you would like it to move forward. So this particular section talks about that. What to expect from and it leads into your financials to a certain extent. What do you expect to be at? Where do you expect to be? And what do you expect to be doing 6 months from now? How much of the marketplace have you been able to connect to? How have you been able to do that? If you're putting out different products, when are you going to put them out, and how are you going to put them out? These are the milestones. It also gives you kind of the ability to look at this and say, okay, I'm moving in the direction that I originally thought. I'm doing better than I thought. Or what I originally thought needs to be adjusted because it's not working as well as I thought it would. And that's why I say, as you put your business plan together, it's not just for people, for external people. It's for internal people, and it should serve as a guide for you, because then you can look and see, when I put this business plan together on January 31st, and now it's July 31st, is what I originally thought that happened, I was thinking was going to happen in January, happen now in July? Are the things that I thought were needed to put this business together or to expand and grow this business working? If they're not working, what do I need to get them to work? If they are working, how do I get them to work better? And, a lot of times, most business owners will think of things, you don't write them down. This is your opportunity and chance. When you get an idea, write it down. Then you can evaluate it later on in the day or the week and determine if this is something that is beneficial to your business. Because when you get up and you start in the morning, or whenever it is you start, there's a number of things in most people's businesses that go on that keep you from remembering, in many cases, some of the ideas that you may have had the day before, the evening before, or so forth. So one of the things I always say that's very important, certainly, is a pen and paper, or the reminders that are on most cell phones. And this is how you describe and how you put together milestones and metrics for your business, and also helps you with the operations part. Because these are not all separate things. All of this stuff, folks, comes together to run and operate a business. And you just don't want to do this by just saying, hey, I'm going to open this business or I'm going to do this business. And I know that, people are just going to buy my products because they're good and use my services because I know they're good. There's got to be a plan. And that's what this all is. This shows how that's going to happen and how I take my business from that, as I said, working in it to working on it. And your goal is to work on it and not in it. Because in it, you end up being a jack of all trades, and unfortunately, in many cases, a master of none. You got to get your business to that standpoint that as your business is growing, you have other people that are taking care of the things that you need to help that business grow and to do the work and to satisfy your clients. Putting these milestones and metrics, just not numbers. Maybe, hey, maybe this is what I need to hire some people. And here's what I need to hire them to do. And here's the background they need, which we're going to talk about in a moment. All of those things are very important, folks. But they don't come out of thin air. So you got to say, all right, if I'm going to get these clients, I need somebody to do this work. Or can I do work for 5 clients? You may be able to. How well can you do that? Depends on who you are. But these are all things you need to look at. Next slide, please. And that's where we get to this company overview. And the company overview really talks about who are we? What is it that we are really trying to do? Is this a sole proprietorship? It's a partnership. Who's going to be the key members of the management team? If it's me, do I have the skills that go into being able to manage a business? Can I do marketing? Can I manage other people, other aspects of my business? And can I manage myself? Am I a good time manager? When does the business start? Who are the owners? You may be the only owner. There may be other owners. People are going to want to know. Certainly, anybody that's investing in your business is going to want to know where it was registered, what state. Is it open for investment? If your business is incorporated, where it was incorporated? I can tell you that the clients that we deal with that are large corporations are definitely going to know that. And if you have any professional gaps, which are people, how do you plan to fill these gaps? Are you going to use consultants? Are you using employees? Are you a 1099 independent contractor type business? If I'm an employee-based business, what am I going to pay people? And what kind of healthcare expenses am I going to be able to incur? Because I'm here to tell you folks that having or being able to offer healthcare benefits is almost as important for many people as what you plan on paying them. And I run an organization where I can tell you 30% of the person's salary is the benefits that I got to pay them from a healthcare standpoint. There's 2 major expenses that you have running a business: place and people, especially if the place is not your home. People, if you have employees, people cost money. Part of that money is certainly healthcare benefits. It's also a salary. Are you paying people, or can you pay people what people in the industry are used to being paid? Many times you get what you pay for. If you don't pay people well, you may not be able to attract the best staffing. Same point in time, you got to make sure that if you're looking to attract people, you know exactly what it is you want them to do. Because your employees can make you money, they can also lose you money. And in many cases, they're the face of your organization. So if you have an organization and you have people who are your employees. They're more times than none providing the services that your organization is providing. They are also providing the products, whether they're selling them or putting them together. So you got to make sure that you have the right people. This is where you want to talk about, who do I need? Or can I do this by myself? Do I have the ability to do this by myself? And how many, and if I'm doing this by myself, am I limiting the growth of my business because I'm the only person actually doing this? In many cases, people start and it starts as a solopreneur. And then they hopefully grow into having employees or consultants to help them. This all is covered in this company overview section, and it's extremely important. So take your time and think about this, whether you're in business or you're thinking of going into business. This is a very important thing. How am I going to get this business to work? Next section, please. And that's where we get to one of the more important parts of the business plan, and that's the financials. People definitely want to see how much money you're going to make, what are your expenses, which encompass your profit and loss statement, cash flow projections, how does the money come in and leave? If you're in retail, it probably comes in and leaves on a daily basis, depending on what your expenses are. If you're in the service industry or manufacturing or construction, this is very important to you, because more times than none, you're not going to get paid the next day, the next week, in some cases, the next month. Are you in a position to wait for your money to 30 to 90 days? Do you have the cash flow that's going to allow you to be able to continue to operate your business while you're waiting to get paid? Very important things to know. Are you in an industry that's the normal way people get paid? You got to put that into your cash flow projections. Your balance sheet basically is, what assets do you have and what liabilities do you have? And you need to put assumptions to this. It's not just to pull these numbers out of thin air. But if you know, for instance, that my rent is $5,000 a month, then that needs to go into your statements, and there needs to be a note that says to somebody, that's what the rent is a month. And if you are raising money or taking out or looking to apply for a loan, I'm here to tell you what's most important to debt folks, or debt, which is banks, as an example. They want to see that if I'm going to give you $50,000 for 5 years plus interest, that you can repay it. Your cash flow statements, your profit and loss statements are going to tell me that. You're going to tell me if you throw off enough money to repay a loan. And they're going to look at the assumptions to make sure the assumptions make sense based on your ability to penetrate the market and your ability to be able to collect money. If I'm looking at it from a standpoint of an investment, do you have enough money where you're really going to be able to make a major move into the marketplace that's going to allow me not only to get the money I invested back, but to get what I've invested plus money that I'm also looking to get having made that investment? And if people are going to lend you money or invest, they want to know what you're going to do with the money. Is it for machinery and equipment? Is it for cash? Is it for working capital? And what a lot of people say, well, it's for working capital. They want to know, well, tell me what your working capital needs are. What are you gonna, what do you need? Do you need money for marketing? Do you need money to take care of operating expenses, such as salaries? And some people may be willing to willing to invest in that or to lend against that, and some may not. But the more you explain and the clearer you explain it, and the way you explain it to make sure that it's clear to somebody that they're going to get their money back, whether it's a loan or an investment, it's going to enhance and increase your opportunities and chances to be successful in getting capital, whether it's borrowed capital or invested capital. Once again, if you're not familiar with how to put this information together, this is where your colleagues at the SBDC can help you and guide you in how you put together the financial statements that you need to run your business, to know your financial capacity. And most important, folks, that you understand and can explain them to somebody. There is nothing worse than having beautiful financial statements that you can't explain to anyone. That if somebody asks you a question, you don't have a good answer or a quick answer for it. So make sure that if this part of your business plan is extremely important, make sure that you get somebody that can, if this is not your background, that you get somebody who can help you put this together, can explain it to you, and that you understand it. It is extraordinarily important. You're in business to make money, so you need to know how money goes into your business, how it comes out of your business, and that's how you get to knowing and having a good idea as to what direction my business is going in and the growth. I have seen many people who've had millions of dollars of sales and have gone out of business because there was no expense control. So the money went in and it went out faster than it went in. So you want to make sure that revenue is always higher than expenses, and that if I'm in a business where my clients pay me on terms, net 30, net 60, net 90, and in some cases, unfortunately, net 120, that I have money to be able to run my business in that period of time when I am waiting to get paid. And remember, in the public sector, and if you're dealing with large corporations and organizations, that's part of your financial plan, because they're not, like I said, they are not paying you as soon as you do the work. So make sure you keep that in mind, and that you factor that in as you're developing your financial information. Next slide, please. And then the appendix, which is, where you put information to support the information that's in the other parts of your business plan. And it can include larger financial statements, the resumes of your management team, because people want to know they're dealing with people who have a background in the business that they're offering and they're putting forth. If there's any patent agreements, if you have examples of things that you've done marketing wise, and that, folks, is where you can put in your capability statement. So that people, when they finish reading this, and when you finish reading it also, you have a complete viewpoint of how your business operates. And anybody that picks it up can look at it and say, hey, I understand what it is you're doing. I understand how you're doing it. I understand who you're doing it with. That's very, very important. What you do not want is people picking up your business plan and not having any idea what it actually says, or you not being able to explain it. Your appendix provides that supporting documents and information that you need, and that any other person who reads this needs to be clear on what it is that you do. So that basically, ladies and gentlemen, kind of goes over why a business plan is important, what goes into a business plan, and what people who look at your business plan externally want to see and want to get to understand. And as I've mentioned, I've looked at business plans, developed business plans for the better part of 30 years. Most of our clients that we work with through the Minority Supply Development Council have a business plan of sorts, and they use that to run and operate their businesses. And as I mentioned, we have clients that are from startups. These are all minority-owned businesses. From startups, our largest client has sales of a bit over $11 billion. Folks, this doesn't happen by accident. It happens by planning. It happens by people sitting down and saying, here's what I want to accomplish in 2024. Here's what I want to accomplish in 2025. So make sure that as you put this information together, you're doing this based on research, facts, and if you need assistance, your colleagues at the Small Business Development Center will be able to help you. This last slide basically provides my contact information. If I could be of any assistance to you in connecting with large corporations or getting your business certified as a minority business enterprise, or if you just want to chat about your business or chat about our clients and the services that we provide, feel free to contact me and I'll do whatever I can do to be of assistance to you. I want to thank you everybody for your time and your attention. And I wish all of you the best of luck as you move your businesses forward, and anything that we can do to help, please let us know. Thank you.
Terrence, thank you. Amazing information today. As one of our viewers said, you are giving out gold nuggets today all throughout this presentation. So I thought that was a very accurate description, the voice of experience. I love what you've shared. So thank you so much for being here and partnering with us to have this opportunity on business planning. It's such an essential topic, and just you are absolutely the voice of experience on it. Thank you. For all of this. And thank you to our advisors who have been so busy answering questions in the chat. We appreciate everyone's questions and the opportunity that we've had to interact with you today. And we hope that, hey, if any of these areas of this business plan look intimidating, get in touch with us. This is what our advisors do. And we are high quality, no cost services as a government funded program. We would be more than happy to assist you. So we dropped that link in the chat. Go snag it before we shut down the webinar here today for you to be able to get in touch with your local SBDC center. When I shut down the webinar today, we will have a brief evaluation. If you could take a moment to do that, we'd love to get your feedback and know what you thought about today's presentation, what other items, business topics you are interested in seeing moving forward, and how we can better serve you as the NYSBDC. And so I know we have a few questions wrapping up. Okay, yep. I think we're good on those there. And so I'll just give our advisors a moment more to finish wrapping up those questions, and then we will sign off. So Patrick, this is Patrick from our Bronx Center. He has been one of the people helping to answer questions today. And then if our others want to come back on screen, Gina Marie Mangiamelli and Susan Gluck and Greg Callender. And let's see, Hans, let me find you here. We also have Hans van Gellen. So you've had advisors from around the state, just to give you an idea of the area that we serve. We really are everywhere and have fantastic advisors at each center who are available to help you in your local area. They'll know what's going on in your local area and be able to assist you with the things that you need that are specific to your area, your type of business, etc. So yes, you will get the recording of this video in a follow-up email along with a PDF of the slides. And I think, oh, that's a fantastic feedback. This presentation exceeded my expectations. So we'd love to hear that because it's a delight to be able to serve you today and to bring this information to you from Terrence, who just has, like you said, 30 years of doing this. So the man knows his stuff backwards and forwards. So, all right. Let's see. Somebody's looking for information for Hudson Valley area. We have a Mid-Hudson Center that is based out of SUNY Ulster. And so if you go to that locations page on our website, nysbdc.org, and go to locations, you will find the Mid-Hudson Center that will be able to serve you. And let's see. Oh, okay. Minority businesses. Yes, we will have more webinars coming up on MWBE. And again, Terrence is an amazing resource for that. He specializes in helping minority businesses get certified and get in touch with those businesses that need their services. So he's an excellent resource for that. We will have some webinars coming up probably in the summertime on MWBE. So if you are not already on our email list, we would love to have you there so that we can keep you notified of when we will be covering different topics. So with that, I'm going to shut things down today. Thank you again to everyone and have a lovely rest of your day.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.